Hey, there we are. Welcome back, home base. We are here, and we're talking about empathy,
Yes.
not sympathy.
They are
Empathy.
different.
Okay, tell me about empathy and sympathy.
Sure. So, empathy is the ability to sense someone else's emotions along with being able to imagine what they might be thinking or feeling. And so, you probably have heard people talking about sympathy and empathy. And if you're like us, I'm sure you hit that point where you're like, what is the difference? So, sympathy is seeing a situation from your own perspective. So, if someone's upset about something, that sympathy looks at that situation and says, if I were you, I would feel like this. Or if I were you, I would do this. And sometimes that can make a situation worse. If I'm upset about something, I don't want your advice right now. I don't want you to come tell me that I shouldn't be upset or it's not that big of a deal. Or, when someone's anxious, someone's saying, calm down. It's not that big of a deal. Has never helped anyone. So that's sympathy. Empathy is seeing the situation from their perspective. So that's where in your head you can think, well, if I was going through that, I wouldn't be upset. But I can see that if I were to put myself in their shoes, that would be upsetting. That is empathy. It's kind of like a muscle. So the more that you use the skill of empathy, the stronger or the more capable of an empathetic person you become.
Okay, so we should be empathetic. We should empathize with others.
Yes, and there are actually different types of empathy.
Okay, I'm small brain, so you're going to have to help me out here.
Sure.
What are the different types of empathy?
Sure. So the first type of empathy is where you are able to feel someone else's emotions. So that is if someone is worried. So if Mr. Weaver is sitting here and he's really worried about making this video and he's anxious and he's scared, that might cause me to feel anxious and scared because I am feeling empathy towards what he is feeling. The other type of empathy is when I am able to really try and see a situation from his perspective. What does life look like for Mr. Weaver? Why is he so nervous? What's making him feel those ways?
Maybe I had a bad morning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But is it okay to sympathize?
It is okay to sympathize. There's a time and place for that. I think if Mr. Weaver said, Mrs. Brothers, I'm really worried about making this video. What would you do if you were worried? Then it's okay for me to use sympathy and say, hey, you're asking for my advice. You're asking what I would do in this situation. Let me tell you. That's sympathy in a good way. None of us want advice from someone when we haven't asked for it.
Okay. So let me try to see if I got this right from what you were just explaining. Okay.
Sure.
Sympathy is if it's from our own understanding, our own perspective.
Yes.
Okay. And we feel pity. And we feel, because we're thinking about ourselves, we feel that we need to give that advice.
Or we feel irritated. Because to me, you're upset about something that's not that big of a deal.
And then we try to paint a silver lining around that situation.
Yeah.
Not really contributing and helping at all.
Exactly.
Okay. And it's a little more self-centered.
Yeah, our priority is me, not you.
Okay. And then empathy, we put ourselves in the other, you said other person's shoes.
Yes.
Okay, so we're actually understanding them. Okay, I like that. And we understand why they might have these particular feelings.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're able to, I don't know, I guess one is self-centered, right? To sympathize, to like contribute and to say, here's my advice. That's a little more self-centered rather than empathizing and sharing in that person's what they're going through.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. So empathy, is that a skill?
It is a skill. It's, like I said, it's like a muscle. So the more that you use it, the stronger that muscle gets. And, if you feel like you're someone who struggles with empathy or you've maybe not been that empathetic of a person up until this point, that's okay. That's what this lesson is for us to help you become a more empathetic person.
Okay. So empathy is a skill that brings people together. It helps with that connection rather than turning them off because you're overbearing and saying, this is what you need to do.
Sure. I think of it like if you're standing on the beach and you're in the sand and you're looking out into the ocean and there's a storm off in the distance. you can see that it's a storm, but it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. I'm on the sand, I'm safe, I'm maybe even in the sunshine, not that big of a deal. When I'm in the water and I'm in a boat and there's a big storm around me, that's a big deal. It's rocking my boat back and forth. It's making me have to hold on to the edges. It's a big deal. So it wouldn't be fair for me standing on the sand to look at that person in the storm and be like, that's not even that big of a storm, not that big of a deal. Well, to them in the storm, that is a big deal. And so empathy allows me to understand what it would feel like to be in the boat in the middle of that storm.
Okay, I like that. So weathering the storm with that person.
Yeah.
Okay. Even if you think it's not that big of a deal.
Exactly.
Okay. So empathy, you say it right. Empathy fuels connection, and sympathy kind of drives a disconnect.
Yes.
Okay, I like that. And that's actually not for me. That's a quote. That's from Brene Brown, Dr. Brene Brown.
Oh, I like that.
And she talks about 4 points, and I'm going to read these right here. Point number 1 is perspective taking. Do you have anything to say about that?
I think perspective taking just goes with that old saying, take a walk in their shoes.
Take a walk in their shoes. Okay. 2, stay out of judgment.
That's a big one.
Okay. Rather than judging that person for what they're going through or thinking you can add advice and tell them what they need to do at the moment, they might not be ready to receive that yet, right?
Exactly.
Okay. 3, recognize emotion in another person that you have maybe felt that way before as well.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. 4, communicate that you recognize that emotion.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, in other words, I could say with our example with Mr. Weaver, it seems like you feel nervous about making this video. I've been nervous before. How can I help? That's empathy. Sympathy would be me saying, we've done these before. You shouldn't be that nervous. You see the difference?
I do. I like it. Just because I had a rough start to the morning. That's why I'm nervous about the video.
See, the other piece of that, those bullet points about judgment and assuming the emotions, when you judge a situation, when you say life's not that bad for them, they have friends, their family has money, they don't have, when you make those judgments, you're assuming you have all of the pieces of the puzzle. You're assuming you have all of the information. And the reality is none of us know everything about someone's life. So can't judge a situation when you don't have the whole story.
Yeah. So basically we just need to get over ourselves. Right?
Basically.
Okay. And take a walk in someone else's shoes.
Exactly. And act like a team, because that's what we're trying to do.
Team building, connection. Okay, so with that, let's close it out. And you want to intro the lesson? I mean, that's kind of where they're going. Is there anything particular that they need to do in the lesson?
Well, this week we have some pretty cool videos for you to watch, including this one. And we have an activity, which I'm pretty excited about, and it includes a snowball fight.
Oh,
so I think it should be a good week.
Okay.
And we have a challenge for you this week. Do you want to tell them about the challenge?
The challenge, I'm looking at the my teleprompter over here. Our archaic teleprompter.
Yeah.
It's a chalkboard.
For those of you that don't know, a chalkboard is something where you write on it with chalk and then you erase it.
Exactly. So here's our challenge. Challenge is to obviously follow us on Instagram.
Yes.
Also listen to the podcast. The last episode 2, was a great one.
Yes, and they'll come out every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday. And then here's your challenge, your real challenge, for real. Okay, you need to try to see a problem or a circumstance that someone's going through. You need to see it in their point of view.
Yeah.
Or as you said, because you're hip and cool, in their POV, right?
That's right.
In their point of view, and we want you to do that at least twice this week.
Flex that muscle.
All right, and with that, I think we are done.
We are.
And we're out. See ya.
See ya.